Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 23rd. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. And right now we're looking at the GOES 18 visible satellite imagery. You can see some low clouds and probably some fog across some of the Puget Sound down towards the Willamette Valley. I noticed it wasn't surface-based here across some of the central Puget Sound this morning, but there is some low cloud activity out there as you can see. And if you do run into some fog, you guys know what to do. Use your low beam, slow down a little bit. And you can see that snow event going on across some of Montana and Idaho, and a couple inches were forecast for Boise. Some higher amounts as you go off to the east as well. So heads up for that if you are still out and about today. Taking a look at the elevated sneaker wave risk. This goes all the way up. I would plan on this for Vancouver Island, Washington, Oregon, all the way down into California as well. So watch out for this. And this is going to continue on in through the weekend. As you can see, Portland National Weather Service talking about the high threat Saturday and Sunday. So don't turn your back on the ocean. Watch out for that. Those logs are waterlogged and they are heavy. You do not want to be caught up in that surf accidentally. Taking a look at Seattle. So far, the month of November, not doing too bad so far. 5.64, and we average about 6.3, but we're going to have a really hard time actually getting towards average here as we don't have any systems coming until maybe the very end of the month, but that one is a weak system. However, as we go on into early December, models continue to show a big change towards a more active, stormy pattern incoming here. And we're going to look at that as we go through the video here this morning. And if you want a nice, affordable home weather station, click on that link down below to save 10% off. Great smartphone app, all solar powered and wireless. Highly recommend this station. This is looking at the NAM3 cam. This is hot off the presses here. And if I put it into motion, you can kind of see that snow flying across some of Idaho down towards Nevada. Maybe some snow still flying across some of the very highest peaks of eastern Oregon. Should not amount to too much, but you can see that Arctic air sagging on the Rockies here across some of Wyoming, Utah, Colorado as that pushes off to the southeast. But you notice no precipitation here across western Washington, Oregon, or British Columbia for the next few days. More on that here in a moment. Looking at the current hazards, there are some dense fog advisories out there, some freeze warnings. You can see all the winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings across Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming as well. Now taking a look at the 2-meter temperature here, just a heads up, then some of the overnight into the early morning hours here, you could be getting some black ice out there across some of the Puget Sound and Willamette Valley. You can see eastern Washington, Oregon, kind of a given there with some of these chilly temperatures here over the next few days. So watch out for that. There could even be some local freezing fog out there as well. And we'll continue to watch this fog threat through the next few days. Also, this is looking at the European. So this checks out visibility in miles. And if we put this in motion, we're going to go into tomorrow morning here. So here we are into Friday early morning. You can see some fog trying to bubble around across the Willamette Valley, the Puget Sound, maybe eastern portion, but you can see it's not a widespread fog event just yet, but we'll be watching this over the next few days to see if this is going to change. You can see a little bit of development here on Saturday morning across some of the Puget Sound and the Willamette Valley as well up towards southwest BC. Something we'll be watching, but right now it doesn't look like an extremely dense fog event, at least not widespread anyway. Now, taking a look at the GFS, excuse me, ensemble mean on the left versus itself, the GFS on the right. This is the 12Z, hot off the presses versus last night's run. We're looking at 500 millibars. We've got Alaska, Washington here, and you can see the ridging off over western BC as we speak. This ridge is going to hang out for a few days, as you can see, and then we bring a weak system towards the west coast here, but it is pretty weak, as you can see it on both models here. Pretty good model agreement between the 06Z and the 12Z run, but then as we go on into the early portion of December, you can see this Gulf of Alaska troughing start to get going again, and we're going to get some storms pointed back at the Pacific Northwest, and that's when the 12Z of this morning has ended 228. It's running as we speak, but you can see pretty good signal there in the ensembles from last night and this morning. This is the European yesterday afternoon. This is the European ensemble mean. Again, Alaska and Washington is there. Ridge hangs out for a few days. Very weak system, maybe passes through here at the end of November, but then the Gulf of Alaska troughing get going pretty well. And the European shows some pretty interesting storms during this time period here. Of course, it's way out in fantasy land, but we'll take a look at that in a little bit more detail. As you can see, all the way towards the end of the run, continued storminess off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. This is looking at Seattle, Tacoma. Look at that dry streak we have coming up all the way towards the end of November. But by the time early December rolls around, we have that potential here for bringing some more precipitation back into the area. Astoria, you can see some of these systems are fairly wet here, but again, you can see the sporadic nature of this rainfall out in the extended range of the ensemble runs. That's to be expected. And we got a few days to watch this come in here. As you can see, no precipitation expected in the meantime. Here we go with the GFS 12Z. And so this one is also hot off the press. You can see the Arctic air mass pushing down on the Rockies here. Nice gradient, windy conditions, some snow flying across Idaho, Wyoming. and Utah out there and Montana. And then that high kind of slides off to the southeast. The ridge continues to dominate our weather here for the meantime. And we go on in towards the end of November here. Weak system tries to swing through here maybe on the 29th or 30th, but then we start to get more active as we get into the early portion of December. Some big low pressure systems trying to make their approach towards the Pacific Northwest. As you can see here, it continues on. Some interesting storm systems moving up and down the west coast here as we go on into the early portion of December. So that'll be something fun to watch over the next few days and see how this evolves. Take a look at Tillamook. This is wind speed, 6-hour max wind gusts, and you can see these big windstorms kind of intermixed in here with some much quieter ensembles as well. But you can see there are some big windstorms in here. Look at this one at 72 miles per hour here. But you can clearly see the tranquil period we do have coming up here. It's a shame because we got some king tides coming up here towards the end of November also, and we're not going to have any big waves out there, so no good wave watching on that aspect of things. You can see Seattle, Tacoma. You can see this again, tranquil period coming up, but then there are some big windstorms kind of mixed in here. So that's something interesting to watch over the next few days. We'll take a look at some of these individual ensemble runs. You can see number 12 is right here, some pretty good winds for SeaTac. There's number 20, big winds, and then number 30 has a couple of big winds here as we go on in through the early portion of December as well. Now, this would be December 3rd here, and look at this low pressure system off the coastline here. And I think I just zoomed in there, but let's bounce back out, and we'll back up and just kind of watch this. Purely a fantasy windstorm hunt at this range, but you can see the Europeans got some big low pressure systems approaching the Pacific Northwest. That would be ensemble member 12. Here we are looking at number 20 here, and you can see this deep low diving into British Columbia, casting this powerful gradient here across much of western Washington, Western Oregon, some of Vancouver Island, Southwest BC, as that would be a huge wind maker as well. That's ensemble member number 20. And check out ensemble member number 30. So I went to the very end of the run here because I had to see this. Look at the very high pressure there over the interior and the very low pressure right off the Pacific Ocean here. This would create an intense gradient for some easterly winds. So that's something we could be looking at later on in the period as well. We'll continue to watch these details, but also this same one, member number 30 also had a windstorm a few days prior to this, a more typical southerly windstorm across the region as well. So just purely fantasy windstorm scenarios there, and nothing to be taken seriously at this point. Total precipitation in inches in the GFS. This is hot off the presses. Let's roll this through the next few days. As you can see, there's the 25th. Here's November 26th. There's the 27th. Here's November 28th. 29th. You guys getting the picture here. We're not looking at much precipitation here until maybe the very end of December, and that system is not overly wet. So we're probably going to finish some areas here below average after the very wet start to November that we had. Kind of noteworthy there. And then you can see some of these systems moving in, but look at how it impacts a lot of the coastal regions and not so much areas like the Cascades, maybe northern Washington here. And of course, we'll watch this. This can change, but yeah, just one run of the GFS we're looking at here, but some pretty wet solutions shaping up for some of the Oregon coast and maybe some of Vancouver Island as well. But yeah, we'll watch these storm systems coming up here. It's not really worth diving into the details too much right now. Just the overall picture here and the main takeaway is that a more active period will be arriving as we go on through the early portion of December. And I just kind of showed you the precipitation. Now, this is the 16-day anomaly here. And look at some of the huge variation between the Oregon coast and some of the Cascades of Washington. Take that with a grain of salt right now. Just the storm track should be increasing as we go on through early December. And Stampede Pass, you can see the snow possibly returning as we go into early December as well there. But you can see nothing in the meantime. Here's the 8 to 14-day precipitation outlook. This is right from November 30th towards December 6th. So you can see they've bumped up the chances for above average precipitation during this time frame, but again, we'll watch that develop as we go in the 8 to 14 day above average temperatures. But anyway, yeah, you can see Matt Rainier on the GOES 18 satellite imagery, some nice snow across some of the higher terrain out there. Always love looking at this satellite imagery. You can see some wave cloud action across eastern Oregon as well, and some, like I mentioned, the fog up and down the coastline into the Northern California valleys as well. But yeah, enjoy this dry weather here coming up, because it's probably going to change as we go through early December. We're kind of typical here as we go through the fall season, and you can kind of see that storm system moving off across Idaho. Hopefully everybody's in place out there and you're not trying to drive around last minute out in that snow. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are liking these videos. Click like and subscribe. We'll continue to look at what's coming up in the extended forecast. We'll break down those fantasy windstorms and see if it trends up or down and try to get some model agreement on just the timing of those systems as they come on in through the future. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.